Okay. So what I'd like to do is translate some practice sentences. And actually, I think I should distribute the textbooks because I do want you guys to have use of the glossary for now while we're working. So if you guys can grab one of these from the front, that'd be cool. Actually, let's take this. And we want some lines here. Those are big lines. Why are they so big? Okay. So what's the deal with nouns and adjectives? All right. An adjective modifies a noun if they agree in gender, number, and case. Yes, good. Okay, so let's do some examples. I'll write some Latin, write it as I do, and then we're going to work on translating them together. Okay, so number 1. That's too thin, isn't it? Is that better? Do you still want it bigger or thicker? That's fine. Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure everyone can read. Okay, so our first example reads, Canis magnus ossa habet. All right, can you guys say that? Good. Okay, so first things first, we're going to want to do our markup. All right, so remember, I've told you, whenever you're looking at a Latin sentence, what should you find first? Always find the verb first. The verb is going to tell you a lot of information, like should I be looking for a singular nominative or a plural nominative? Who's my subject? What's going on here? So what's my main verb here? Habet, good. Okay, so I'll mark that up with a V. Now, singular or plural? Singular. Good, so we need a singular, what case for my subject? Nominative, good, okay. 1 second. Okay, do we have a singular nominative here? You're guessing? Okay. Here's the deal. You need to know the dictionary forms of the words. All right, so canis, what's that coming from? Okay, so we've got, here maybe we'll shift this. Okay. All right, that comes from canis. Whoops. Okay, and what about the word ossa? I don't think you've seen that word before, but what? Good, okay, ossis. Okay, and that's actually a neuter noun. Okay. So here's the question. We've got canis and we've got ossa, both of which are nouns. What is magnus? It's an adjective. So what we need to decide is, what is magnus going with? Is it going with canis or ossa? The endings are not going to help us out here. So how do I decide?
Do we have to read the context?
There is no context. It's just this one sentence. But there is a way to tell. You have to figure it out with the noun, right? So which gender, so magnus, right? What gender is that probably going to be if it ends in US? Masculine. Okay, now we know that ossa is what gender? Neuter, so it's probably not going with ossa, so what is it? What must it be going with then? Canis, yeah.
So the great dog.
Yep, okay, so this is our nominative subject, and therefore ossa then has to be my direct object. Okay. So translation for this one?
The big dog. Has. I'm guessing two.
Has a bone.
Are you sure? Has a bone?
It has, they like it. It has, it's the, has.
So let's think about this, right? So ossis is third declension. Let's go through our endings real quick. And it's neuter, right? X, is, e, x, a. And then the neuter rule states that they both end in a short a in the nominative and accusative. So ibus, ibus.
So
Okay.
it's has bones. Like
Has-
bone.
Yep, has bones. It has to be plural. Okay. Any questions so far? No? All right, let's do number 2. All right, remember, leave yourself space to mark up and leave yourself space to translate.
Is that an M?
Okay. Number 2 reads, meos canis magna ossa habet. Right, can you guys say that out loud, please? Good. Okay. Now, fun fact, I actually found, so you remember when I told you about the double, like when there's a double consonant, I like drag it a little bit? Okay, I actually found out why just this week, why we do that, right? There is a reason. So if you're talking about like word scansion, if a vowel, right? So this, oh, you don't need to know this. This is just if anyone's interested. All right, this O here, if it's a vowel, right? And it's followed by SS. Now that double S, that's 2 consonants. So if a vowel is followed by 2 consonants, then it's long by position. That's what we call that, long by position. So it's ossa, not ossa. Does that make sense? Right, so if, yeah. So if it's followed by 2 consonants, that's why I drag it out. Which, I don't know, when I saw that, I was like, wait a second, now I can explain it to them, and they'll know. Okay. All right, so first things first, Evan, what's my verb?
Magna.
Remember, the verb is usually at the very end of the sentence, typically. Habet, yeah. Okay, now, habet, is it singular or plural JE? Remember, good, right? Because it ends in a T, not an NT. Yep. All right, so we need a singular nominative subject. Tiffany, what is it?
Hang on. It's canis, right?
Yeah, and how can you tell?
Because it's nominative singular.
Because yep, exactly. It's nominative singular. And what's going to help us here are our adjectives as well. What is nearby that's also nominative singular and masculine? Annabelle. Meus, good. So these 2 things are in agreement. All right, that's our singular subject. Now we've got magna and we've got ossa. Now this is nice because it just happens to line up in terms of ending, right? Are these things going together? Okay. And it's my, how am I gonna mark that up, Soyeon? How am I gonna mark up magna osa? What is it?
Direct object.
Good. Okay. Translation. Lisa, how about you?
I don't know what's me.
Mayos.
Guy?
Yep.
Oh, my dog has big bones.
Yep.
Big bones. Yeah.
Good. All right. My dog has big bones. Yeah, these are weird sentences, but what can I tell you? I didn't write this textbook, so. All right. Any questions so far? All right. So you kind of just have to employ, that's the word. You have to employ logic when figuring out what an adjective is modifying. Okay. Number 3. Okay. Number 3 is ossa multi canes habent. Can you guys say that for me? Good. Okay, I heard canes. Can you say canes? There we go. Okay. Now, first things first, find my verb. Jason, where is my verb?
Haben.
Good, it's habent. All right, now, JE, singular or plural? Good. Why? What is it ending in? Just NT. Yeah, but you had it. You had it. Good. Okay. If it was BANT, then you would have.
Right.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. The vowels are kind of strange. All right. So we're looking for a nominative plural. We've got 2 possibilities here. Uh-oh. Why do we have 2 possibilities? Osa is plural. What about canes?
Plural.
Also plural. And they're both possibly nominative plural, right? Oh, shoot. So how do I figure this out? Logic, yeah. Would it make more sense for the dog to have bones or the bones to have dogs?
Dogs have dogs.
What? All right, so so the dogs, even though it's not coming first, is going to be my subject. All right, which means osa then is going to be my direct object. Osa. Okay, now multi. Well, let's figure out whether it's going with osa or canes. Okay, what do you guys think? Ruth, what do you think? Canes. Why would you? Is that instinct? What's telling you that?
Because I don't know, I just
Same gender. Yeah, right. Multi, that I ending here, is masculine, and canes is a masculine word, right? So it can't agree with osa. Okay, otherwise it would have to be like multa if it were to agree with osa. Okay, so translation, David.
So multiple dogs have bones.
Yes. I'm going to say many dogs, just to, it's a shorter word. Many dogs have bones. Okay, so far so good. All right, you see how we're kind of like figuring it out? All right, number 4. That's funny. I just realized something. Check this out. Actually, well, I'll tell you in a minute why it's funny. All right.
Sentences are really not that creative.
No, they're not. But what they're trying to teach you is like how do you spot the difference using like limited vocabulary. Okay, repeat please. Canis magnum os habet.
Canis magnum os habet.
Good. All right, first things first. Find the verb. Lisa. Habet. Good. All right, singular or plural? Evan, what do you think?
Singular.
Okay, why? What is it? Huh? On habet?
Okay, yeah.
What's my ending on habet that tells me it's just singular? Just T. Just the T. Okay. So my singular subject could be os and it could be canis, right? Because both of those are potentially nominative and singular. Okay. But we're going to have to use sense to figure this out. What is magnum going with? Mm-mm.
No, os is masculine. Oh, yeah.
Os is neuter. Yeah.
Wait, so that's how it's going with os.
Yeah, so magnum here has to be going with os. Can't be going with canis. Magnum is neuter, canis is masculine. Okay.
The great bone has
Well, careful.
a dog.
Careful. So even though this, so os, because it's neuter, it could be nominative, but it can also be accusative, right? Because of the neuter rule. All right, so, but canis can only be nominative, right? Can canis be accusative? No, right? So this absolutely must be our subject because it's only, like, it's the only thing it could be. All right, magnum could have been either our subject or direct object because it's neuter, but because we already have a subject, that's fine. Okay, translation. Jason.
The
Start with your subject.
dog. Alright, the dog. Wait, no.
Yeah, the dog. Habet.
Has. No, have.
Yeah, you're right. Has a magnum os.
A big.
Yeah. Okay. Now the reason I laughed is because there are two words. Okay, we've got os, ossis, neuter, which is the Latin word for bone. And we've also got the word os oris, which is also neuter. It's the Latin word for mouth or like speech or expression or a face.
The dog has a big mouth.
So we could say the dog has a big mouth and the dog has a big face if we wanted to, which is kind of funny.
Wait,
Okay.
then how do you know which one it is?
Because in the exercise they gave us the word bone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but so if it's a debate between whether to translate it as, because they're two separate Latin words, use sense or context to help figure it out. Like, would it make sense for it to have a big mouth or have a big bone?
I feel like mouth would make more sense
Mm.
than bone.
Yeah, if we were reading like Latin Little Red Riding Hood, like, oh grandma, what big bones you have? Like, nah, that's not it.
How do scholars deal with like controversial possible translations?
How does who deal with that?
Scholars.
How do they deal with it? Okay, so here's the deal. A lot of Latin texts were lost, right? We don't have, like, they were written on like scrolls and codices and whatnot, but a lot of that doesn't survive because that's organic material. However, a lot of the Latin texts that we get come from manuscripts that were copied in like monasteries in the Middle Ages and onward, right? So when you copy something down, right, because they don't have a printer, they can't just go to the Learning Commons and print out a book if they want to. They have to copy that by hand. If you want a copy of something, that's how you did it before Gutenberg's printing press. Yeah.
That's why they took like years to make, but like
Yes.
multiple times.
But that's also why not everybody read, because it was expensive to get a book.
Wait, but I heard some of that in like the Greek and Roman times, like books were a lot more available than in like the Middle Ages.
I would agree with that. Yeah, books were more available during the Greek and Roman times, and more people were, I guess, literate too. But even still, so when you have people copying things down, mistakes are made. That's the thing. Like, you can have, sometimes there will be like one copy of a manuscript found somewhere, and then somewhere else a copy of that same work is found, and you have to compare them, and scholars will like sit and debate and argue like what makes the most sense based on the information that we have. So we don't necessarily have the original. Like, I didn't just go to Caesar's house and like dig up his manuscripts that he wrote by his hand. We only have them because they were copied by somebody else.
So scholars might have gotten some of them wrong, and then.
Yeah, and that's why there is still room for jobs in classics and classical literature, because there are discoveries being made still. Like, I think they just found a hoard of manuscripts that were like locked in a monastery somewhere, totally forgotten about, and that's going to give us a lot of information that, you know, we didn't have before. So it's interesting, right? And they're finding stuff all the time. You know, I think they just discovered they were trying to dig for when you dig in Italy, like, you're going to find something. That's why they don't have like really good subway systems, because when you dig down, you find something. And then you have to stop, you have to declare it to the state, and then the state comes in and investigates, right? Because if it's a cultural artifact, then like, that's cultural property. So you can't, you can't just like bulldoze it and deface it, you know?
What do you mean by like something? Like, what things can we find?
So just recently, some guy was trying to dig in his vineyard out in Italy to build something, right? Like maybe an underwater, whatever. He found a Roman mosaic floor. Beautifully preserved, might I add. But if you think about it, right? So like, Pompeii is a weird example, because you have a moment in time where everything was kind of just buried, and then people started like building on top of it and living around it and all that fun stuff, right? That's a weird example. But if you go to Rome today, what you'll see is, like, yes, they have somewhat modern buildings, sort of, right? But buildings that were built in antiquity were kind of added upon as time went on, like they were just used. Sometimes you'll see buildings with pieces of like old, like parts of other buildings in the walls. So they'll like use pieces of old buildings and build it into the new. And other times you have, like, you'll just be walking down a street and you'll see a big like hole in the ground, and there's like, if you look down, there are ruins that are preserved and then can't be touched, right? So it's kind of just this like weird intersection of like modern buildings, Middle Age and Renaissance buildings, and old buildings. So it's like they're kind of like building in and around each other. It's a little weird. Like, we don't have that in the United States. It's not quite.
Like, my mom doesn't go to vacation in the U.S. because she says it doesn't have that much history compared to in Italy and stuff.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people are still in love with Europe, is because it's got such a long background. Unless, like in the Americas, unless you're talking about Mesoamerica,
Yeah.
like the Incan, Aztec, Maya, Olmec, and all that. Olmec.
So she goes to Europe.
Yeah, she should go to Mexico.
But she's planning on retiring to Japan after the
Oh, interesting. All right, Annabelle.
What happened to the guy's vineyard? Did
The
the
guy's
state
what?
like take it over since he found the floor?
I think the state would probably pay him for it, I would imagine, because it was technically like his property. But like, just all that to say, like the superintendenza will come in, and you can't do any more construction on your property until it's been properly excavated. So sometimes what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll remove it in the proper archaeological fashion, but that takes time. That takes money. Mm-hmm.
How big was the flooring that you found?
That I don't know.
Just like a little square of.
Oh no, it was bigger than that. It was decently sized. I would imagine it was probably like half the size of this room, maybe bigger, maybe.
You just kept digging?
Well, like when you find something, you find something. I mean, like you also have to, I don't know. I think people are aware of the cultural presence in Italy, so when they do have to dig, they do so carefully, because the chances are you might find something, right? I think they just discovered a statue somewhere. I don't know who found it, but it was like just hanging out in the mud. And that's going to kind of change the way we view like the relationship between the Etruscans and the Romans, right? Because there was some intersection there. But that's how, so classics does change, right? We talk about history as if it's this thing that's happened and things don't really change. That's not true. Sometimes pieces from history will fall into, like, or will be discovered, right? And that will change the perspective, right? So for example, like, say we found, like, we know Hitler was like not the greatest guy, right? But let's say we like found his personal diary that just like magically appeared somewhere, and he was like writing about unicorns and ponies and stuff. Like that would totally change your opinion of like Hitler as a human being. You know what I mean? So like history is changeable. History can change. Okay, same thing with manuscripts, right? Sometimes they'll be discovered and we'll find another version of it, and then you have to compare them and figure out which was more likely based on what you know from the other stuff of that same author. Yeah, so it's kind of just like a multifaceted study of things. Sorry, that was like a really long explanation, but I don't know. This stuff is kind of interesting. It's like what they teach you in history classes, like these are the facts. And yes, they are, for now.
How do we get to this conversation?
I don't know.
I feel like history is like our view on what happened before. It's not actually what happened. It's what we think happened.
Yeah, it's what we think happened. Yep. And our best guess, I guess. Oh, we got, because of these two words, and how do you decide which one's right
Oh, and then
in translating, and somehow we got to talking about, yeah.
Roman mosaic floor.
Yep, the Roman mosaic floor in
Just
Italy.
start digging there.
Hey, if you guys get the chance, you should definitely go on an archaeological dig. It's a lot of fun.
Have you done it?
Oh, yeah.
Actually?
Yeah. Yo, I love playing in the dirt. Of course, like carefully, because you don't want to break anything, but it is fun, yeah. And you meet a lot of cool people. Huh?
Did you find anything?
Oh, we found lots of stuff. We were actually, so the site that I was digging on, they had, the previous season before I came, they discovered a not Neolithic, a Bronze Age hut. Like the remains, like the floor print of it. So then what we had to do, like the season that they just discovered it then, they like broke the ground on that. So when I came for my season, I was helping them kind of uncover it carefully, document it appropriately, and then start to figure out like where, like how it was situated. Was it like a bigger settlement? Like what kinds of rooms did they have in this hut? Stuff like that. And you also find a lot of pottery, and this is also a fun thing to do if you like puzzles. You can find like a whole bunch of pottery and see which pieces fit together. Sometimes you can get like, you can assemble a whole pot if you're lucky. And sometimes you find coins, which are also cool.
Can you sell the coins?
No, because it technically belongs to the archaeological site.
Did you
And
get to keep one?
no, you don't get to keep that. And they check your stuff. They check your stuff just in case. You're not supposed to remove anything from the archaeological site. That's technically super illegal, and they could arrest you for it.
How illegal is
For
it?
stealing?
Well, you steal. It's an ancient artifact. It's not yours to take. You know, like yes, you found it, but it's not like finders keepers, losers weepers. It's like finders keep. But finders like, hey, I found this, and here you go. Like, let's analyze this. And
But now you just contributed, so it's kind of cool.
yeah,
It's like you contributed to history.
exactly. Yeah, so you can still put your name to something. You don't have to own it to be proud of something. I don't know. It's fun if you guys get the chance.
The deal with Stradivarius and Island, like people are like, why are you flexing something that you don't have? I'm like, you're good enough to be able to like play on them. So that's-
Exactly. Yeah, because they're so rare, aren't they?
Yeah.
Did the Romans have technology to like make stuff out of jewelry, like jewels like diamond and like
Yes.
they did?
Yes, they did. So they actually have pretty decent collections at the Met for Roman jewelry, but they used semi-precious stones. I don't think they had diamonds because diamonds were, I want to say that's like an African gem, at least as far as I'm aware. And then further in the east as well. Yeah.
So what did the Romans use?
They would use things like, so there are words for emeralds, there's word for ruby, there's word for, I guess, sapphire. They used a lot of gold. I don't know that they used silver all too much. They used a lot of pearl. Sometimes you could have, like because it's the Mediterranean, you get this coral, like a red coral. You crush it up, make it into a paste, and then form beads from it. So there's a lot. Roman jewelry is actually like kind of cool.
I saw some Roman jewelry.
Yeah,
You should look at the picture.
I feel like that's such a broad.
I want to see a picture of the floor that you did they take a photo of it?
I think they must have.
No, what is it? Let's go to the Met. Yeah, so if you see, like, look at the jeweled bracelet.
Are those all pearls?
So that's, if you look, usually they'll tell you what the medium is. So it's gold, silver, pearl, amethyst, sapphire, opal, glass. They were really good at using glass, by the way. Glass jewelry, like, if you were unaware, like, it could look like a gem. They just shined it up real nice.
Inside.
Quartz and emerald plasma. Let's see. They're also like, so I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's like, you see how that's kind of a relief carving, right? That cameo, you've seen that, like the heads of people like to the side, kind of carved on a thing. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Right, that's called cameo, right? They were particularly good at that. It's shell carving. It's like a fine art.
I have a glass duck. And a glass unicorn. But
Ah, mm-hmm.
How much would those be worth
When they were made?
Yeah.
Typically, only women of the aristocracy would wear jewelry and adornment.
So expensive.
It's hard to equate ancient value to modern value. It doesn't exactly translate over because they also have like different coin systems. But even like Roman women did like to adorn themselves.
didn't they use like makeup that was like bad for them?
Possibly, yes. But some of it was clean, some of it was not, depending on what you have. But again, with that, like, we don't necessarily have, we don't have like the recipes for those things. Like, they weren't exactly written down, unfortunately. It would be cool though. Yeah, these aren't like great examples. There are some better ones. Like if you go, they have walls. Here you go. Ooh, well, that's exciting. No, I don't. Go away. There you go. All right, you see, like, those kind of look like coins, don't they? Right, but they've got the gems in there. Mm-hmm.
For some of the earrings, it's like one of a pair. Does that mean they only have one of them? But how do they know there wasn't, like, the other earring wasn't the same? Like, what if it was different? But they gave us one.
That's why archaeology is tricky. You have to use what you know based on, like, so you make inferences based on, like, typical patterns, right? So the pattern, like, if it was one in a pair, like, earrings usually match, right? Only more modernly have I seen earrings not match, right? So logic would say that the other earring would have been exactly the same as the other, right? But then again, that's why it's tricky, because when you do find something that's counterintuitive, not exactly what you know about the culture, right? Like, let's say we think all earrings match in Roman jewelry, but then you find a pair that doesn't match. Like, and it's on a body, right? Let's say it's on like a skeleton or something in the sarcophagus, right? So you know that someone was wearing 2 earrings and they were both different. That changes things, right? Because then you have to reevaluate everything that you knew previously and figure it out, right? So that's why it's a lot of thinking. Okay, sorry. Okay, the Roman jewelry is cool though. Let's go back. Okay, so anyway.
I found the glass unicorn that I have.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really expensive now because I think it's like limited edition or something.
I believe that.
It was like, it's a lot cheaper back then.
Okay, number 5 is ossa magnus canis habet. Okay, now, looking at magnus, what gender is it probably going to be? Masculine, good. So it's not going to go with ossa, right? It just can't. So what is it probably going to go with? Canis. Not canis, that's where we eat our lunch. Okay. And if you were to check it out, right? Magnus and canis are both masculine. What else are they? Uh-huh. Yep, masculine, nominative, and singular. So that's our subject. Ossa is going to be our DO. Okay. So what's my translation here? Ruth?
The dog has a big bone.
Careful.
Big
Careful.
bones.
No, careful. What's Magnus?
The big dog
There you
has
go.
bones.
The big dog has bones.
Wait, by bones, do you mean like his skeleton or like?
That's up to you. That's up to you. I don't know, maybe the dog raided an archaeological site illegally and stole some bones.
My Latin chapter 18 vocabulary has a bunch of math on the back of it.
Oh.
Because I used that scrap paper, but I didn't realize what it
I
was.
feel like you shouldn't tell the Latin teacher that. Okay, Dominus bonum canem habet. Okay, now. Habet's my verb. My subject is probably Dominus, right, because it's nominative. Now, canem is my other noun, right? What case is canem? M. Annabelle? Accusative, so that's got to be my direct object. Now the question is, what is the adjective bonum going with? Is bonum nominative? It could be if it's neuter, but are dominus or canem neuter? No, they're both masculine. So bonum then has to be going with what? What's my only option? Canem, yeah. Okay, so my translation, who's the dominus? Yes, all right, so the master has big dogs or a big dog? A big dog.
Well, what does bonum mean?
Oh, I'm sorry, a good. Bleh. Sorry, I got so used to the using Magnus. Okay, next.
Like, do you think big dogs are better than little dogs?
That-
I think little dogs are superior.
No, I think medium dogs.
Little dogs are so mean.
I know, my
Big
dog
dogs
is
barks are. I think it depends what type of dog you get.
No, I have 2 very aggressive Yorkies
That's you.
and a very aggressive poodle, but he's no longer aggressive because We gave him away and now he's a single dog again and gets spoiled and is really fat.
Okay, next. Number 7, Dominus obesus canem habet. Can you guys say that?
Dominus obesus
Oh, that was like pathetic. Let's try that again. Dominus obesus canem habet. Okay, good. Now, my verb is habet. All right. My subject is probably dominus because it's nominative and masculine and singular. Okay, now canem, right? Again, it ends in em, so that's probably going to be my direct object. All right, so the question is, what is obesus going with? Dominus, right? Because obesus looks nominative, it is nominative, and it's masculine and it's singular, right, Jason? What are you looking at?
The verb in the subject has to be this.
You're texting your dad?
Yeah, my dad asked me this question about a test I caught yesterday.
Oh, this test?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, well, redirect him my way if you want me to explain to him.
My mom
Okay.
My mom is upset, so, yeah.
Well, I didn't get any inbuilt.
No, she didn't because she just took her anger, like she was really mad at me, but she didn't care.
Ah, okay. All right, so Dominus obesus, what kind of master is he?
That.
Yep, the fat master has a dog or dogs?
Big dog.
Good, a dog. Okay, last one, number 8. Okay. Canem magnum dominus habet. Say it. Canem magnum dominus habet. All right, now. My verb is habet, right? It has been this whole time. Singular, as it has been this whole time.
Except habent in example 3.
True, except habent in example 3. Thanks, Tiffany. Okay, now. What's my subject? Is it canem or dominus? Which one's nominative? Dominus. Good. Which means canem is my what? Good. All right, now we have to figure out what is magnum going with. Is it going with dominus or canem if they're both masculine? It's got to go with canem. Yeah, because that is accusative. All right, so the dominus, the master, habet, has dogs. A big dog. Right? Because if it was plural, then it would be canes magnos. Canes magnos. Okay? All right? So you see how you kind of have to employ logic to do this?
You have to like the dog. And the one has the dog.
Okay. All right, so by identifying, essentially, like how do you know that an adjective and a noun go together? You just have to determine the gender number in case of both. If they agree, then you're fine. Okay, so just double check it. Always double check it. And that's why when I give you guys the vocab lists, like with the nouns, I always give you the gender because you need to know those. Okay, that's going to help you. All right, any questions on that? No? Okay. What I would like, and this is going to kind of blend into homework time, you're going to continue this. I'm going to give you 10 sentences, and you're going to have to determine the noun-adjective pair and translate. Okay? Huh? Yeah, just continue that.
Wait, so like in number 8, the noun adjective is
Yep. Yeah, so you can just do that, like you can bracket them underneath to show me that you know which one's going with which.
We have to translate.
Yep. All right, so identify the noun adjective pair and translate. Now this is going to be tricky because I'm giving you not just first declension adjectives, it's going to be a mix. Actually, let me give some space here. All right, but so remember, when you're writing, give yourself space to mark up and give yourself space to translate for each.
Is that V or R?
That's a V.
V?
So will these sentences be able to work?
Eventually, so I would just write them now. But you do have to handwrite them anyway. So,
Oh, that's it.
Is it we or we? I wrote we.
what?
Because I can't really see.
That's a Q. Ah, so you see, reading handwriting is not so easy, especially even when it's neat.
That's true.
Reading is hard in general.
Wait, how many are there?
10.
10?
Mm-hmm.
That's Qui right now.
Jeez, have y'all never seen a Q before?
No.
There.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Is that an A or no?
Which one?
Number 4, non.
N-A-M?
That's an A?
That's an, is it an A or a,
Oh.
oh, it's an A.
Uh,
We'll also use like what you know, right? Do you know a word that's N-O-M? No, but do you know a word that is N-A-M? Yeah. redo them? Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, you can do it that way.
I want to say was immediately like, yeah, you can do that.
Hmm?
And I want to say was like, I love how you can just read immediately was like, yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
These are so long.
I'm gonna write smaller so it can fit all on mine because then I will like. What else?
Right. Are you guys, is everyone done with 1 and 2?
Wait, what's the last word on number 8?
Olfaciunt. Olfaciunt.
Oh.
Has to do with your olfactory senses.
What?
Olfactory senses. I'm showing you. Pointing to my nose.
I'm too busy copying down. I am 3 sentences behind you.
Yeah, so
It's really hard.
What, writing Latin?
Yeah, I know it's copying because my eyesight is really bad and I need new glasses.
You know why I'm doing this, right?
Uh,
To show you what an investment it would be to copy a whole manuscript.
I know.
Imagine.
At least it doesn't have to be on the board like far away. It's right next to you.
That's true. That's a little easier.
It's like, I mean, I copy a lot of stuff at home, but like, I can't copy it from the board because I can barely see capital letters because my eyesight is very bad.
Ah. Okay. All right, now underneath I'm gonna give you, did y'all get 3 and 4 at least? All right, underneath I am gonna give you some vocab. Okay. All right, so what I'd like y'all to do, just go through your markup, identify the noun-adjective pair, and translate. Okay? Any questions on that?
So it's just like what we did before.
Yep, exactly like that.
Wait, did you say you want us to mark it or something?
Yes, I would like you to.